I found this on Ganorum. Ganomir.
What is it?
Well, it's
Synthaholics. It's the Star Trek podcast.
Welcome to Synthaholics. This is your host, David Duncan, and with me is the suffering...
I've been locked up for so long, Aaron O'Brien.
I'm 20 years old, just 5 minutes.
5 minutes, I became 20 years old. My aching bones.
My aching nipples.
What happened to you?
He pegged me for milk.
Oh, no.
My cellmate got so hungry.
He was so hungry. So, this episode, we are talking about the Deep Space Nine episode Hard Time, which happened season 4, episode 18, and it first aired April 15th, 1996.
I like this episode a lot, and I like how this is another Suffering Over Brian episode, and during the episode, they actually referenced our previous Suffering Over Brian episode when he was in the Kardashian court.
They did.
I was like, sweet, I'm glad they referenced it, and I'm glad we're kind of doing it in chronological order, or at least a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. Yeah, we'll just...
I don't know all of the Suffering episodes, but at least these two are in somewhat order.
Just plot along.
And I hope we get them right.
all the bullshit Miles O'Brien's gone through. So
that poor man.
Poor Irish man, we crippled him.
I was trying to do like the Galaxy Quest. That poor man. Balthazar.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot of news this week, although now that we say that, there'll probably be some big thing that comes out.
Right between
now
recording
and when it comes out.
When we release this episode.
There'll probably be some new Star Trek Discovery news. But there's no Star Trek Discovery news this week. Last week we recorded on the Les Moonves saying Star Trek Discovery has no exact release date. And this week, Zachary Quinto's running his mouth saying Star Trek 4 is not guaranteed.
There's no guarantee. Basically, he said that he's not. He said that he wouldn't not do the Spock.
Well, he and Chris Pine are signed. Like,
right.
If another one happens, he's going to be in it.
But
unless he can somehow get out of the contract.
But they have had, I know Simon Pegg has been working on script ideas, and like you said, they're signed to do another movie.
I think Simon Pegg was tweeting about it.
Well, he was going to get Chris Helmsworth to do another something with Kirk's father. I don't know how that would work, but
I saw another article randomly about
Chris Helmsworth.
Well, no, about how it was just an opinion article, but basically the title line on it, I didn't read it, but the title line on it was like, Kirk should have a child in this movie. That would be a good idea to have, move on with Carol, get Alice Eve back. Let's get her pregnant with David Marcus. That way, since Chris Hemsworth is supposed to be Kirk's dad, it'd be nice to have a 3 generation of Kirk. Have the baby.
Kirk had a brother too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he had a little nephew, but he just kind of
But did his brother die in this universe? I can't remember.
Well, he died in the original series.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Then he had a nephew, and then the nephew just kind of disappeared, and we never heard from the nephew again.
I just can't remember if he died in this timeline or not, because I want to say they did that episode as a comic in the Star Trek ongoing.
Oh, maybe they did.
But I don't remember if Kirk's brother died in that comic or not. Because they do change. I mean, it's basically a retelling of the original series episodes.
Okay.
And the ongoing comics, and they do an episode over two comic books.
Right.
But they kind of put a twist on him. I don't remember if the twist was his brother lived in that one. I don't remember. I haven't read the Star Trek ongoing comics in a while, and I know during the first 2 films they were supposed to be canon. But that's debatable now, because in the Star Trek comics that feature the JJ verse, Kirk and Bones are on a different ship. It's not the Enterprise. And Scotty's with them, and Jayla, she's a cadet with some other new cadets. And they're not on the Enterprise. It's really weird. I've only seen snippets of it, because IO9 sometimes does snippets of... And I'm like, that's weird. I wonder if this is canon anymore, because I have no idea if this is still considered canon, because it may not be the ongoing. It may not be ongoing anymore.
Okay.
The one that was called ongoing was the one that was canon. I don't think this is called ongoing.
Okay.
So this may not be canon. I don't know how the comics work anymore.
Yeah.
I haven't been following them closely enough.
Maybe George Samuel Kirk died of polio. That was it.
Polio came back?
I contracted polio in some alternate universe where we never cured it.
A 300-year plague?
It just came back.
It just went away. It went into remission. It came back.
We opened up like a box and there was polio inside.
And this is not Star Trek-related news per se, but Zoe Saldana, she said that she's going to start filming Avatar, I think sometime later this summer. And I think they're filming 4 Avatar movies back to back. So Zoe Saldana is going to be booked solid for like a year, and that's not even counting reshoots.
Right.
Also, she's, signed for Infinity Wars 1 and 2, I think, and then Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which will take place after the Infinity Wars.
And did you listen to Robbie's Nerdynomicon, the last one he just dropped?
Today?
Yeah.
I'm only halfway through it.
They talk at the
Sorry, Robbie. I only can only get so far driving to Holly's house and driving back from Holly's house.
We're busy people. But I was listening to it, and he was talking about Infinity Wars, how much it's like...
Yeah, I heard that part where he's talking about Infinity Wars and how it's going to be $1 billion. Whenever he asked the question, how much do you think Infinity Wars is going to be? I said $1 billion. And then his co-host said $1.2 billion. I'm like, that's a little high. I was just thinking, $1 billion would be high.
Billion's really high.
But it's two movies.
That's for 2 movies.
$500,000. And some movies do cost $500,000.
No, I get it. I'm just saying, that's crazy.
That is crazy.
That is crazy. Like, can't you take a couple reshoots?
But how much of that is that, like, just them paying the actors?
Oh, I'm sure.
I'm sure that's a huge part of it, not just the special effects.
Yeah.
Because Robert Downey Jr.'s salary goes up, I think, almost every movie.
He's got to be so rich. He doesn't even know what to do with himself. But anyways, yeah, so she's booked. I mean, they're all going to be booked. Chris Pine is in the new Wonder Woman.
But I doubt he'll be in the second one if they make a second one. And that's where
Steve Trevor, he's like Lois Lane.
Does he live into the future? Because, I mean, the movie takes place in World War I. World War I, I think. Or World War II.
I think it's World War I, yeah.
So I don't think he's going to be alive.
Well, maybe he won't.
In the second movie, because I'm pretty sure this is like an origin story for Wonder Woman, and the next one will be her in Superman time. So I don't think he'll... Unless he just...
Maybe she brings
maybe he's Captain America. Maybe he gets frozen and they thaw him out.
That'd be weird. Chris Pine is Captain America. I don't think he's got the bod for it. I mean, he's got it. I mean, Chris Pine's built, but he's not like, I'm
not saying. I'm just saying maybe they'll freeze him and maybe he'll wake up and
I see.
So he can still be
cryogenic tube kind of thing.
Yeah, so he can still be around in modern day.
Yeah.
Because I mean, otherwise he'd just be dead.
Yeah.
And Wonder Woman 2. Unless Wonder Woman 2 is also back then, which I don't know why it would be.
I always thought Steve Trevor was always around, from what I remember, but maybe they rewrote it for that.
Maybe it's his great-grandson.
Maybe. And he looks just like...
And it's still Chris Pine.
And he's Chris Pine. Like, you look just like your dad.
I knew your dad. We did it once.
Yeah, I know.
It was sad because I had to protect him all the time.
Oh, what was that movie with Harrison Ford where there's a girl that couldn't die? And she just lived forever, and Harrison Ford, like, dated her.
It wasn't Witness.
No. Not Witness. Those were with the Amish? Yeah. I was going to say Quakers, but yeah, the Amish.
No, it's the Amish.
Yeah.
Witness is a good movie, though.
No, it's a good movie. It's a great movie. It's a weird pull. I haven't thought of the Witness in a long time. Anyways, off track. Let's get back to Star Trek. Yeah, Hard Time starts off with a gnarly-looking Miles O'Brien sitting in some kind of jail cell.
He's got the best afro.
Oh, man. He's, like, really rocking that afro. And he's got the
beard.
Wild beard.
He is, like, crazy-looking man.
Yeah, did you ever see, like Monty Python where the guy walks up on the beach and he goes, "It's," and they go, "Monty Python's Flying Circus." Like, that's exactly what he's just a crazy-looking guy. Like, he just, like, washed up on the beach from being, like, lost at sea forever.
I would love to see O'Brien play in a movie looking like that. Just like a full-length movie where he's just crazy.
I don't know if he's...
He almost looks like Tom Hanks at the end of Castaway.
Yeah, he does a little bit. He looked a little crazier than Tom Hanks, to tell you the truth. Tom Hanks looked pretty...
No, but I mean, like, Tom Hanks doesn't look crazy in general, but O'Brien, even when O'Brien's looking normal, he still looks kind of crazy.
He looks a little crazy.
It's the beady eyes and the tiny mouth.
Yeah. Watch out, he's Irish. Anyways, so he's in this jail cell and he's like in the sand. He's drawing some weird patterns, and two guards walk in, or like one guard in some kind of like warden.
Magistrate or something like that.
Yeah, walks in and says, "You've been cleared. You can go free." He's like,
It's like the minimum sentence was 15 years, but you've been here for 20 years.
"You've been here for 20 years.
Oops.
Sorry, we left you locked up for a little bit too long." And he's like, "But where would I go?
What am I going to do?
What am I going to do?" It's like, "We don't care." And then they just like, then they beat him
Start
up.
beating and tasing him, and then throw him out the door.
Throw him out the door, and
like,
then
really, you're releasing him? Shouldn't you start being nice to the guy?
I don't.
Like cruelty to the very end.
Cruelty to the very end, and you get an extra 5 years just for the hell of it, just because we forgot. So
Give me 5 extra years.
then next, all of a sudden, he wakes up and he is.
And there's Kira.
He's completely shaven. Hair looks normal. He's in his uniform. He's laying on a table
With all these weird spokes on it.
Yeah, he's got like all this stuff around him, and these like they're called Agrathi race are like surrounding him, and then Kira's there. And when he wakes up, she comes up to him. He's like, "I'm sorry, I just found out you've been here for like over an hour." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" And he says, "You were
sentenced to jail for 20 years, and it was all in your mind. It was an illusion. Just forget about it."
It's like a virtual reality. It's like, but for him, it was like a real thing.
For me, it was real. And I like how the lady, the Agartha lady, put it, where she's like, this helps, rehabilitate people quicker because you don't have people, doing lengthy actual,
right,
and you don't have to pay for that through public service or whatever.
Right.
Although I just wonder what, I guess instead of paying for that, they're paying for psych bills because this thing messes you up in the head.
No doubt. Yeah, definitely.
So instead of paying for prisons, we've got the best psychiatrists in the world, in the universe.
It's win-win. Everyone's their mental state's well taken care of. Well, so then we get the opening credits, and then when we get to Act 1, we see Cisco, and he's talking to Keiko, and they're saying that on the mission to Agartha that O'Brien was falsely accused of espionage, and that he was in this virtual reality prison for 20 years.
Man, I just hope I don't have to go through that, because I'm a techie nerd. I love tech. I love finding how tech works and looking at technology and reading about technology. I hope no one, accuses me of espionage one day and throws me in jail for being curious about technology. Because that's all O'Brien did. O'Brien was
What's this button do?
O'Brien was guilty of being a nerd. And I am totally a nerd, and as are you, Aaron. And I hope no one throws us in jail for being nerds.
You're going to jail, but for different reasons.
You bringing up that darkening doorsteps again?
Yeah,
Come
yeah.
on, thanks, Peter. Thanks for putting that in Aaron's head.
Hanging out in those alleyways,
Just understand.
twirling your mustache.
Yeah, I borrow your van when we do that, though, so they'll trace you instead of me.
Free Pokemon inside.
Nice serial killer van.
Yes. So anyways, because they're mind control, mind altering technologies, they have a criminal system where they can just do it within an hour or so, a few hours of treatment, and they don't physically harm the person, but they literally experience
20 or however long their sentence is of the jail. And it's custom tailored to your psyche. Like they do a brain scan to see what's most effective against you, and they use it against you. Like it's brutal.
Yeah, right, exactly. So he says, give him a little space. He's Dr. Bashir is gonna look him over when we get on.
And Dr. Bashir is the only one that meets him whenever they arrive back at Deep Space Nine, and it's so weird.
It'd be great if he had balloons.
He should have had balloons.
Welcome home.
Although to Bashir's only been gone for a day. But it's just O'Brien's I kept dreaming about this, and I forgot how beautiful the station was, and it was kind of an interesting camera angle they were showing from
when they're flying into it.
Yeah, it's something you don't really see as often in DS9.
Yeah, I thought that was cool, and I liked that he was kind of just thinking about it. Man, this is so beautiful. I just took it for granted for so long, you know. And then, so when they get to the station, then Doc.
But I'm gonna put guns on it one day. Lots and lots of guns.
I'm gonna mount so many guns on this damn thing. Bashir.
Maybe he's already done that at this point. I can't remember.
I don't know if he's done season 4. Maybe.
I think so because he had that Klingon battle.
Oh, was it already?
I can't remember if it was earlier in the season or later this season.
So Bashir picks him up, brings him down to sick bay, and starts looking him over because they're thinking they might be able to reverse it at this point.
Although Cisco said probably not because of what the alien race said.
So
because they're proud in their technology, we screw your head up for good.
Right. Okay, so while he does that, Bashir discovers that he can't reverse it. That he literally experienced this imprisonment. And
the only way he could get rid of it is if he wipes his entire memory. And Keiko's like, yeah, maybe that's probably not a good idea.
Then he'd be a vegetable, or, What kind of vegetable? Potato?
Carrot? Cucumber?
I'm going for squash.
Oh, man, maybe she likes the squash instead of the cucumber. Who knows? Keiko-cumber.
Keiko-cumber.
And, like we said last time, we did an O'Brien Suffers episode, that, Keiko hadn't gone, full bitch mode. And Keiko also wasn't bad in this episode.
She's very nice. She's very...
maybe she's only nice when O'Brien has suffered.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
I'll have to start paying attention to that.
But you notice in the first, 2 seasons when she's school teacher or becoming school teacher and all that stuff, that's when she really starts getting real, in his face all the time. She's complaining, what am I going to do?
But then she leaves.
Yeah, I know.
After season 4, I guess. Yeah. For most of the time.
The interesting thing that Bashir asks him while he's checking up on him is so you were in this prison cell by yourself? And he goes, yes, I was.
Completely alone.
Which we find out next. We have this little flashback where he was put into the prison and there was another person in there.
There was a guy there from day one. Fed him some fruit juice.
Yep. His name was Ichar.
Juicy fruit.
He's gonna move ya. It's got a taste. It moves right through ya. Juicy fruit. The taste is gonna move ya. And he sang that to O'Brien every day.
Yeah, he rocked it. He cradled his head and fed it to him.
So Ichar is been, I think he said 6 years he's already been there before O'Brien showed up.
And he's there to almost the entire time O'Brien leaves, within weeks of his letting go. So he must have done something really bad.
He's remarkably sanguine through this whole thing too. He's so like O'Brien goes.
He's like a court jester who got thrown in jail. He thinks everything is funny.
Well, he goes aren't you upset? Aren't you mad? He goes, I could get mad. I could go crazy. He says, but I'd just rather laugh at it all because I would go crazy if I
didn't laugh. But just his mannerisms and his face and the way he moved, he reminds me of a court jester.
I don't know if he didn't remind me of that, but he definitely reminded me of a very desperate person, for sure.
Well, court jesters are the most desperate people.
They're the most desperate. Don't kill me.
Because they have to, entertain the king, and if they don't entertain the king, they get messed up. It's like Silicius Crumb all over again. That's why Silicius Crumb was around.
So he comes back, Brian comes back to with Keiko, and they're having dinner. And he starts putting his foods.
He's portioning his food and starting to wrap it up in a napkin.
She goes, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, it's just a habit. Sometimes they wouldn't feed me for weeks.
I had to put food away. I eat as little as I can and store it away."
They wouldn't feed him for weeks.
That's awful. Because your food's gonna be rotten within days. And then if it's it'll be super decomposed and super smelly by the time weeks have gone by.
Yeah. And we don't even know what kind of food they're giving you.
Where's the bathroom in that place? Well, that place must smell so bad.
Well, wait a second. There was this part where what they do, in the very beginning, they did not decontamination, but it was some kind of beam that. Oh
yeah, that's right. Yeah, maybe the beam cleans it up, so maybe it doesn't smell like shit all the time.
I think the sand is like a kitty litter. Kind of thing.
Okay.
I think they kind of shit and piss in there, and they just bury it so it doesn't smell bad. And then every day they
and then they have to sleep on it too. Oh, it's the worst.
I think every day the thing comes through and it just zips it.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
And I think it cleans their body too, so they don't get really sick. It makes sense. I mean, of course, it's all in their head, so it doesn't. You can just do anything.
Yeah, but I mean, it's an interesting take on things. I didn't think about how that would take away because it did smooth out his drawing.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so it did smooth out. It destroyed his drawing.
Yeah,
in the beginning.
that's what I said. It destroyed his drawing. It smoothed it out, so you couldn't see anything.
And he seemed like it bothered him when it went over him. Like he was like,
like it hurt. Yeah.
So it didn't probably feel good. Like maybe it was like this, like getting hit with electricity or something.
Like getting tasered.
Don't tase me, bro.
But I guess the smell is gone. I guess it's worth it getting tased like 3 times a day.
I smelled so bad. They just shit their pants after a while.
I wonder where did he get his clothes from? Because he's in these crazy looking like hobo rags.
Well, I mean, but he was in his uniform, and if you see as it progresses, his uniform gets more and more ratty. So
yeah, but at the very end, it's like a totally different outfit.
Yeah, he's like.
Did they throw him some mercy clothes?
Maybe he was like, "Hey, put this on." I mean, we don't know. Maybe they take him out of the cell every once in a while. You know,
that's true. We don't get a whole lot of time of them in the cell. And one of the things that really kind of hit me about the episode is usually when something bad happens, like if they get captured or something, they're usually like, "Oh, my ship will come and save me," or "My crew will come and save me." This never came up at all this episode,
yeah,
which was like kind of weird.
Yeah,
it's almost I don't know what it was, but it just
well, it brings up a good point. Is like do you, if you are in that situation, if you are O'Brien and if it's real, do you actually think the ships, your crewmates are going to come save you? Do you just assume that's going to happen? I wouldn't.
Almost every single episode of Star Trek where someone gets captured, that's what happens.
I know, but I mean,
the crew will come for me.
I know, but I don't know if that would be like something you just default to. Like they'll be here. Maybe they don't.
Maybe since O'Brien is just a crewman, he doesn't have any actual rank.
Yeah, I know he's chief, but you know.
But he's an enlisted officer. He never went to Starfleet.
I know.
Which is why his pin is different.
Oh, I know. I mean, he's a chief. He's
chief petty officer.
He's not like an actual officer.
He's the main engineer, but he's got no schooling. It's all just on the field.
Yeah,
stuff.
But talking like my father-in-law is a Navy man, and like my father-in-law was a crewman. And he basically said, yes, they're the officers, but the officers heavily rely on like the, chief petty officers, because those are the guys that actually know their shit. Because they've done it for years, and they know how the ships work inside and out. Like, they know all the little nuances where, like, the officer may know.
Where a ranked officer might have the...
like if you're a lieutenant or whatever like that, you might be like really, you've gone through, your school and everything, but you don't know how the ship actually, I mean, you might have an idea how the ship works, but you don't know all the little like nuts and bolts of everything.
It's sad. Harry Kim has a rank. He went through Starfleet, and he's not even as valuable as O'Brien.
No.
Not even close.
No, absolutely.
And I just had to throw that out there because Holly was asking me today. I was over at her house, and she was like, "Why do you and Aaron hate O'Brien? Why do you hate Harry Kim so much?" And I'm like, "Do you like him?" And she's like, "I don't know." But she's like, "You guys are so hard on him." I'm like, "He's worthless."
Well, I think you're far harder than him. I'm a little more sympathetic to Kim, but maybe next time we talk about Kim, we'll talk a little bit more of her feelings.
Maybe we'll have to have Holly on next time we talk about Kim.
Yeah.
Maybe she can like be his guardian angel.
She'll be like, he's all right.
But thank you for listening to the episode, Holly. We really appreciate it.
Right.
And everyone else who listens, we always appreciate that.
We have a scene where Keiko wakes up and O'Brien is sleeping on the floor.
Sleeping on the floor. She's in a sexy red dress. She looked good. so not a dress, it was a nightie.
Dave noticed that.
Yeah. That looks good on her. So O'Brien was asleep on the floor, and Keiko in her sexy red nightie came over and put some covers on him and rubbed his face, and somehow he didn't wake up.
Yeah. He didn't break her.
What? He didn't like break her neck or her arm or anything. Which he does try to do the cork in a few minutes.
Right. So the next thing, he gets this getting back to work. That's what it comes down to. He's doing his work.
His work.
But Bashir comes down to him and says, "Hey, your counselor that you're supposed to be seeing 3 times.
You haven't seen him in 10 days.
You haven't seen him in 10 days. What's going on?" He goes, "I don't need to see him anymore."
I'm tired of talking to him. All he wants to know is my bathroom facilities and Did I have sex with my...
Where did you go to the bathroom?
Where'd you have sex? Did you get conjugal visits on your weird alien prison stay?
Yeah,
Did you make her wear a paper bag?
I do kind of wonder if O'Brien and Each are kind of like, gay for the stay.
No, you draw a circle, which is like a butthole. It's just really big, and then you envision your whole life inside a butthole. Which is what Ichar was talking about.
Maybe that's what he was talking about.
It's a metaphor for your butthole.
So Bashir kind of gets on him, and he goes, "Look, I don't want to go. I'm not going."
He gets really in his face, and I'm pretty sure at this point in the show that they're friends.
They're friends, but
they don't have that rivalry they had in like the first 2.5 seasons.
They started becoming friends. They're not great friends yet. They're pretty.
They're getting there, but they don't hate each other like they did in the first couple seasons.
Right
at this point. But just imagine if they did hate each other.
Oh,
on
he'd
that
probably
level.
knock him out. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he'd probably slugged him.
So O'Brien then storms off, and he goes to Quark. And he wants a Synthale, not Synthahol, Synthale.
Synthale, yeah.
And then he goes like, Quark's obviously slammed. There's
Quark's making like lots of mixed drinks and pouring stuff here and there.
I'll be with you in a second. And O'Brien just grabs him by his arm and starts twisting his arm.
It's like, where's my Synthale?
He's like, all right, it's coming. So,
but it's a lot of work making drinks. I made some drinks tonight. It's like it takes a little time to make some drinks.
I was at a bar, and I was stopped by to see a friend who's a bartender, and I think he had a couple mixed drinks, but he mostly just doing beers. But he's just like nonstop. He just could not stop. He was just go.
Sure, yeah. I mean, you're always doing stuff. I mean,
just like. He can't sit still,
Yeah, I mean, I made us some Kardashian coolers tonight, and some board. I used 2 different shakers,
and that's just 2 people.
Yeah, and it took me good 10 minutes to put together 2 drinks.
Right. You'd have to be faster if you're a bartender.
Yeah,
you'd be slinging those drinks.
Well, this is why I make drinks for my friend, and also these are mixed drinks that had to be shaken and
not stirred.
Yeah, shaken, not stirred. Yes.
So, anyways. After O'Brien gets his Synthale, he's sitting there at the table, and who shows up? Ichar. Now he'd seen Ichar kind of lurking in the background of the
bar earlier when he was trying to play darts with Worf, and he couldn't remember what they were doing.
Right, and he thought he saw him, but he was like, maybe I didn't.
If that's the only time you see Worf the entire episode trying to play darts with O'Brien.
It's like, why am I even in this episode? Like the smallest role.
That's such a small part.
So silly for him to be there, to put on his makeup just to do this.
Man, that's awful. I'm sure they were shooting. I would hope, for Michael Dorn's sake, that they were shooting multiple episodes at the same time.
Yeah, I'm sure they were.
Yeah, so he didn't have to put on his makeup for like 2 seconds.
Right. So Ichar shows up and he's like, "What are you doing here?" And it's funny that O'Brien doesn't even make the connection that he shouldn't be there. Period, because he's not even real.
Oh, he kind of does at the end, but
I know that, but I'm just saying is he should just be
he keeps seeing him lurking around the station,
and he
really weird.
entertains it, and it even when he's having an argument with Ichar and he's going through the hallways, and Ichar says, "I'm showing up because you want me to show up for some reason."
Yeah, part of you wants me here. Quit telling me to go away if you keep summoning me here.
Right, exactly.
And he goes home, and he's just stressed out from twisting Quark's arm and yelling at Bashir. And
right.
And Molly's like, "Come draw with me, Daddy. Come draw with me, Daddy. Come draw with me, Daddy.
Shut up. I'll stick that crayon up your nose.
Come draw with me, Daddy."
Well, Cisco takes him aside and says, "Hey, you have not been to the counselor, and I heard that you blew up at Bashir, and I heard what happened with Quark."
Oh, and Brian just runs straight to Bashir and starts yelling at him. "Were you told on me? Are you a second grade tattletale?"
Yeah. And so Cisco says, "You're going to go." He says, "You're
relieved of duty,
and you're going every day to the counselor." And he's like, "What?" So
I don't like talking to the counselor. He doesn't have boobs like Troy, and doesn't have the great neckline that Troy did.
Keeps on talking about me and Icha's sex life and where we went to the bathroom. It's like, I don't care anymore.
I don't want to talk about this anymore. Can we get Deanna Troi from the Enterprise? Can she come be my counselor?
I don't know.
I will do counseling if Deanna Troi is my counselor.
That good?
she's just nice to look at during the session. I don't know if she was ever a good psychiatrist. I mean, who knows?
How do you really feel about that, Captain?
I don't know. Like, I really wish, like, they used her more. Because, like, you know, she had this ability. I know we're not even talking about next gen, but she has this ability to sense things. And, like, what she says is basically common sense. It's like, oh, like, that basic intuition could tell me everything your quote unquote ability does.
Right.
Oh, and speaking of that ability, we should definitely maybe do that episode soon, the one where she like loses her ability and starts freaking out.
Oh, yeah. I can't feel emotions.
I can't feel emotions anymore. I'm so useless. I'm like, you're feeling emotions that help this never.
So O'Brien leaves. He literally takes, when he's going down the elevator, he takes his combat and just throws it against the wall, and he's just like, fuck this place. And he gets home, and Keiko's there, and he's like, what's wrong, honey? And then, you know, he kind of tells her, but then Molly's like,
draw with me, Daddy. Draw with me, Daddy. Daddy, you want to draw with me?
He almost knocks Molly out.
He like almost punches her in the face.
Yeah, I'm going to punch my 3-year-old in the face. So, Keiko, you know,
picks up Molly
and
starts kind of like holding her. It's like, no, it's okay, Molly.
And then
he's just a crazy man who's been in jail for 20 years. It's okay.
And, you know, O'Brien's like, oh my God,
I'm sorry.
I've become a monster. And he runs out. And at this point, O'Brien is like, okay, so I've basically, you know, almost killed or, you know, beat up my 3-year-old daughter.
I almost hit my daughter. I've been yelling at my wife, kind of. I yelled at
sleeping
Julian.
On the floor. I'm storing food in my pockets. And, you know,
people, when I'm doing work, ask me, what's that weird smell?
I almost broke Cork's arm. He's like, I kind of become a monster. And you get this last part where he was with Icha, where they explain this when he goes down to like a cargo bay and just starts bashing containers
with the biggest wrench ever. What is that wrench used for?
I don't know.
It's like bigger than a baseball bat, and it's just like a plain wrench. It doesn't have like, it's not like a wrench where you can adjust how big, you know, the head is.
Yeah.
It's just a big solitary.
It's called a crescent wrench, or a monkey wrench, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah, a pipe wrench that they call.
Yeah, it's just a big, solid,
giant
regular looking wrench.
Yeah.
But like bigger than a baseball bat. And he's just batting everything. And all those containers must be empty because those things went flying.
Yeah, he was flying around, yeah. I thought they should have put something in them.
Yeah, that way they would have at least...
little sand or something so they don't like fly all over the place, you know, because it just seems so silly how they just like...
They just, yeah, they're going like they're totally empty. And I'm sure they were empty. I mean...
Oh, yeah.
If there was something in them, maybe O'Brien's ripped underneath that thing. But we did see we did see him naked the last O'Brien Zephyrs episode.
Yeah.
He's definitely not ripped.
He's not ripped. So he's bashing into things, and then he sees just a weapons council where
it's the weapons lunchbox.
The weapons lunchbox, your McDonald's lunchbox of phasers. Even though he's been relieved of duty, he can still open it up.
Well, remember that one guy got his codes.
I know.
And like figured out
Deep Space Nine must have the worst security. If you work for Starfleet, you can just like fire torpedoes at anything.
Well, it doesn't matter. You don't even have to work for. You can be a Cardassian spy, not know anything about the station, and just record his voice, figure out the password, and then beam torpedoes onto a shuttlecraft within like 15 seconds.
It's crazy
somehow, and then implicate O'Brien for like trying to smuggle these things.
Right. Yeah, so he
turns that phaser to maximum kill.
Yeah, so he's going to just melt himself,
which is really cool. Like it's one of the few times you see on the phaser how the settings work.
Yeah, you usually don't see it at all.
You usually just see them like point it and then press the button. But this time you see him click the button and it goes from like minimum stun to like building up on the stun meter, and then it starts going up on the kill meter. It's like a little bit killed, very killed, super killed, extra
like supernova. Yeah,
it's on the vaporized setting.
So he turns the phaser to him, and then Bashir shows up like, "I wouldn't do that if I were you."
But I like my drink stirred, not shaken.
Yes,
as we learned from Bada Bing, Bada Bang.
So O'Brien basically says, I've become a monster. I don't even know what I am anymore.
He's like, I almost hit my daughter. I'm a terrible person. I'm not evolved. And then he kind of goes over how he killed
HR. Yeah, HR was basically they hadn't eaten like 2 or 3 weeks.
And HR had all this food stored away, and he saw him sneaking up to get it when
HR said he did not have any food, and then when he assumed O'Brien was sleeping in a cell. HR went to go find this little cubby, and he went to grab this food, and then O'Brien just attacked him and like broke his neck or something.
And then like there was so much food there that he was like, "Oh, you're going to share this with me?
Yeah,
wake up, HR!"
Wake
and
up,
he's
HR.
Like, "Oh shit, I killed him. And he dumped all his food in the kitty litter.
My friends for 20 years."
Yeah, and he killed him, and then he said the next day that they started feeding them.
Yeah, which is
and it's just like it's just like kicking in the gut. But it was only a couple more days before they let him out of jail. But
yeah, exactly. But yeah, so and then Bashir says, "Look, what they did to you was awful, but you can't let them."
You can't let your one moment of slipping out of being an evolved human define who you are.
And technically, you didn't really do it because it's all in your brain. I've had crazier dreams than that. Than killing, okay? So, I mean, it's like, I'm just going to put it out there, it's like, we all think crazy stuff.
Oh, yeah, I remember a couple of your dreams.
We will not talk about that here. But, anyways, yeah.
Of course not.
That's private counselor information. So, but, I mean, it's like, so, Bashir's like, that's not you, this doesn't define you, you can't.
One moment doesn't define you, one moment of weakness doesn't mar your entire life.
Sort of does, but not in this case.
In the 20th century, it does. But the 24th century, when it was a computer program in your brain, it doesn't.
Yeah. So he talks kind of O'Brien down, and HR is kind of sitting there in the background going,
hey, my butt's sore, but, it was good.
It was good. And then he kind of walks off, and he just, like, disappears. So
he doesn't need HR anymore.
You don't need
And now, here's the point where Bashir brings O'Brien drugs. It's like, this won't make your memories go away, but it'll calm you the fuck down.
Yeah, and you won't get depressed as often.
And you won't get depressed. It's probably like codeine or like
codeine.
No, it's probably like a pot mixed with codeine.
Pot mixed with codeine. Oh my god. Well, anyways, it's
anti-anxiety and like And it's supposed to mellow you out.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's Dilaudid. Dilaudid really mellows you out.
Well, it could be a lot of things. I mean,
I know. I'm just,
it could be lithium for all we know. But
waxing poetic about drugs.
So, yeah. So anyways, so kind of just like...
I teared up whenever O'Brien...
he was getting all upset and he was crying.
No, like whenever he's about to kill himself, and Bashir had to like talk him down, like, and he was like telling him, "Oh, I did all this stuff." And like, I got choked up a little bit.
And it kind of ends at kind of like O'Brien's on the men,
He's on the men. Then he hugs Molly.
Yeah, and he's like,
"Yes, Daddy's home. Daddy's home."
And I won't hit you in the face.
Yes.
Yeah. So
when you go through a portal and turn into a 16-year-old girl, then I'll hit you in the face.
Well, but that's different
because when you're a teenager, you're insufferable, especially when you're an insufferable Neanderthal.
Absolutely,
teenager.
That's when you really got to hit them.
It's the only thing I understand.
So it's the only thing you people understand.
Neanderthals.
Damn teenage Neanderthals. So Dave, Hard Time. What did you think?
Oh, it was really good. Like, I was really surprised how it like made me like tear up. Like whenever he's like talking about how I'm an evolved human and this happened and like that whole speech back and forth between Bashir and O'Brien was so good. That one scene, like, it just really hits hard when you kind of think about it.
Yeah.
And just take it all in. And Star Trek's doing that to me a lot more lately as I
So you're getting older.
As I'm older. It didn't do that to me when I was a kid. I was just like, eh.
You don't care.
I mean, even like 8 years ago when I was watching these episodes, like probably for the first time because 8 years ago was probably when I pirated all the Star Trek series and watched them all the way through. Because DS9, like I didn't watch all the way through its original run. I didn't see that all the way through until years and years later.
Right.
Whenever I pirated the series, because like I couldn't afford the DVDs, and like those are expensive.
Right.
But now it's all on Netflix, so I don't have to pirate. Yay!
Well, it's the funny thing is that when you get older, a all of a sudden, like, you've been through the grinder of life and you know hard times. And you know when you see something like that, it's like, oh, man, he went through hell.
Yeah, and just like the emotional impact of like, I was told in school that I was this evolved human and that I was supposed to be better than these basic instincts. That's like murder and rage and hate and all these like, terrible emotions. And then I experienced all this and I went through and did it. I killed my best friend for 20 years, my only friend for 20 years. I killed him dead for food he was going to share with me. Like, and then they fed us the next day. Like that just, it's like such a gut punch. And Star Trek's really good about that. And then it's a testament of Alexander Siddig and, Cole Meany, just that scene, just the two of them. That was just an amazing scene.
Yeah.
Of just two actors, like just great performances on both sides. And I actually rewound the episode at the beginning because I thought it said Alexander Siddig directed the episode, but I reminded it was Alexander something else, but it started with an S. I was like, I was like, did Bashir direct this episode? That's really cool.
Yeah, Alexander Singer,
yeah, but I just saw the S, and so I rewound it. And I was like, oh wait, no, it's not.
Yeah, this episode's heavily leans on Colin Meaney in his acting.
So much.
Yeah.
So what's your take on it?
A couple things. One, obviously, you do realize Colin Meaney. It's hard because Colin Meaney is a fantastic actor. Maybe the best actor out of this whole, this crew. I mean, this cast of all Deep Space Nine cast.
Ooh,
I don't know if that's the case or not, but he is probably like the top, one or two or three, like, I don't know. I not versatility, but just how he comes through. He really comes through very strong. So I don't know if he is quite, I mean, like, the guy who plays Quark,
Armin Shimmerman.
Yeah, Armin Shimmerman.
He's a great actor.
He's a great actor too. Obviously, I mean, there's the whole cast is really
great.
Very
the whole cast is great, but Colin Meaney, I mean, I do see what you mean. Like Colin Meaney does sort of have to stand head and shoulders because he gets these episodes where he just kicked the shit out of.
Yeah, but here's the funny thing is like, I think maybe a lesser actor or a less experienced actor would overplay this. You know what I mean? Like they would overdo it.
You mean ham it up?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think he did a really good job of like, he's trying to keep a lid on it. And O'Brien is always kind of like, he doesn't want to show his emotions anyways. He's a very subtle.
Close to the chest.
Yeah, he holds it very, yeah. And, you're seeing him kind of like come unhinged, and he's like slowly unraveling and you're seeing it get worse and worse. So I think he did really good with that. The only thing I had a problem with at all is the acting, I think. When at the last part when he
quit making fun of Hannah Hette.
No, when he grabs
Molly.
Yeah, no, when he grabs the phaser, maybe it's more of directing. I don't know if it's Colin Meaney, but it seemed forced.
It did seem really weird. And then that, like, in the cargo bay, there's just this giant lunchbox on the wall that's got like phasers and all the things. But yeah, it's weird.
But like, that was probably like the only thing I was like, nah, I don't know about that.
And that's probably the best looking phaser prop ever made for Star Trek.
It was pretty cool
because I went to the Star Trek Experience in Las Vegas and the Star Trek Experience at Quark's Bar, where a lot of the drinks I make that we drink on the show are from. The last couple of weeks that we've been drinking, and they also had a museum and 2 rides. But in the museum, they had all these props. They had Nomad. I got to see Nomad, like, just between me and glass. It was like just a piece of glass between me and Nomad.
It was just rolling back between some wire, back and forth.
Yeah, it was, he was there. But I saw Full Torpedo, too. I saw some of the costumes, and I saw prop phasers. And the prop phasers look like shit. Like, they don't look good at all. Like the toys I had, even though they weren't proportioned right, looked better. Had better details on them. And this phaser that he had
looked pretty good.
It looked really good. I mean, it had to. It had like the lights and stuff on it. So this was like a hero prop, not like a side prop.
Right. couple interesting things about this. The writers for this, Daniel Keyes Morgan and Lynn Barker, pitched this story that became Hard Time for the first season of Deep Space Nine, and that Michael Piller wasn't going for it. He's like, nah.
Really?
Nah. And they kept pitching it first season, second season, third season, and finally the fourth season said, all right.
I can't believe Michael Piller didn't go for it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like, maybe they hadn't established the O'Brien must suffer in seasons 1 and 2. And then maybe like, after they did, like, the Cardassian trial episode, maybe he's like, yeah. And maybe it did really, I think that maybe it did really well in ratings, the Cardassian trial episode. Right. So maybe since that happened in the third season and he turned down this episode, the third season, maybe he gave it the green light because of how well that episode did.
The other interesting thing is the character Ichar hadn't been in the original story that they wrote. In fact, there was a separate story that they were going to do where they were going to find where remember the episode Lower Decks, where the character Ensign Sito Jax, she died with the Cardassians.
God, that's such a heavy episode. Oh my
They were going to bring her back, and that she had been imprisoned by the Cardassians for all that time. And it was going to be her that was going through all that shit.
Oh,
yeah,
that would have been amazing.
Yeah, so that would have been really cool.
Oh my gosh, that would have been so good.
When she like died in that, we were like, oh my god,
that's Lower Decks is such a gut punch. We got to do that sometime soon.
Very good.
That's such a good episode. I totally cried when I watched that.
Yeah, that's a terrible. I mean, not terrible, but it's a really rough one to get through. So
it's so hard.
So yeah, so it was that. So they kind of rolled that all into the Ichar character, and they kind of developed him, and it put, they obviously put O'Brien instead of, Jack's, Ensign Jack's story. So, this funny thing is that this episode came out with the virtual reality prison idea, and almost the same year that this was made, there was they redid the Outer Limits back in the 1990s, and they did an Outer Limits with the same idea called The Sentence, with the same premise, the same year, 1996.
Outer Limits was a really good show. I liked the reboot in the 90s. They did some really cool stuff.
Oh yeah, it was pretty wild.
I mean, the original Outer Limits is still timeless and classic. Oh yeah, great. Yeah. But the 90s Outer Limits was still. I hope they reboot the Outer Limits again soon.
Well, it's funny because you're saying that they reboot it. I mean, Black Mirror just did the episode. I don't know if you watch Black Mirror.
Not all of it. Which one are you talking about?
This one's called White Christmas, where they're stuck in the Christmas time over and over again, where the guy
with John Hamm.
Yes.
That episode is so good and so fucked up.
Oh, it's super fucked up.
So bad. It's so good and so bad.
Yeah.
Like if you've seen this episode of Star Trek and you like this episode, go on Netflix, watch Black Mirror. What's the episode called?
White Christmas.
Watch White Christmas. It is so amazing. It's a very similar premise.
John Hamm from Mad Men's, and he's great.
He is fantastic, and the ending is so
messed up.
It's so messed up. Black Mirror is always messed up,
but this
almost always. There's one episode in the new season, the one with the lesbians, and they go into the mind palace whenever they die.
I don't know if I've seen that.
You can try it out.
I don't think I've seen all of them from the second season.
Okay, I haven't seen all of them from the second season either. But that one was the most not weird episode of. I was like, what? This doesn't seem like Black Mirror. I mean, it's a cool premise where when you die, you get downloaded into this virtual world,
right?
And you just live there as a younger version of you, and the world is static except for you can move through different eras of time.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool, but at the same time, there's no weird fucked up twist at the end. It just was oh, okay. And the thing is, before you die, you can test it out to see if you want to live in this virtual world or just die.
Just die.
I mean, it's kind of a cool premise, but it wasn't it's not like White Christmas where it's oh my gosh, or they punch you in the stomach.
Yeah, when you see White Christmas, you're like, by the end of it, you're like, oh my god. Yeah, so that's a great episode.
I mean, Black Mirror is a great series, in general. I mean, if you watch it in order, don't let the first episode throw you off.
The pig fucking.
The pig fucking, yeah. I mean.
The pig fucking is pretty intense too.
It's really intense, and they tried all these ways to get him to
fuck the pig.
It's just Oh, it's all so fun, but it's really compelling storytelling, and it's like if you haven't seen it, it's like if social media like just takes off and just becomes the driving point of our life, it's scary.
They're like cautionary tales of technology.
Yeah, it's sort of like a modern Twilight Zone or Outer Limits, but it's all based around technology. It's not really based on like anything weird. It's like specifically
technology and humanity's interactions with technology. So, yeah. So, anyways, that's some interesting things. Like I said, I think this episode heavily relies on Colm Meaney's, performance. I think he does pretty damn well for what it is. And like I said, he doesn't like we said before, he doesn't ham it up. Doesn't ham it up. He keeps it pretty realistic, which is difficult with Deep Space Nine. It's weird because you're in a science fiction. And you had like a guy like, Shatner who like really hammed it up, to like put it over the top. But my point is that, because that sold it for back in the original series.
In the 66, hamming it up was how you sold it.
Right. But this is like he's playing it subtle and he's making it believable. But at the same time, like you're still got to sell it, that people are going to still watch it. Like they're not going to be halfway through, fuck this shit. And, change the channel back in 1996. So I don't know. It's pretty good. I think he did really good for that. So the other thing is obviously it made me think about like soldiers returning home with PTSD. Even and
then family. Having a kid. I mean, I don't have a kid, but I mean but also I teared up at the end when he's like I'm home and he's hugging his daughter.
Right.
I mean, it's just it's just like wow.
The other thing I thought about was, obviously, prisoners going to. I mean, I recently, just like in the last 2 or 3 days, like Aaron Hernandez killed himself
in the jail cell. Yeah.
Now he was a horrible human being. I don't know if he deserved suicide, but I mean he was a pretty awful person from everything he'd done, all the acts.
What if you're in this virtual jail cell, like O'Brien? What if you killed yourself? Do you come out of it early? Or is it like the Matrix? If you die in the Matrix, you die in the real world.
Die in the real world. I don't know.
That'd be something. I mean, just speaking of jail time and stuff like that. Like, in one hand, like I could totally see this. Almost think this should be the future of jail, and like we should just totally heavily invest in mental health. Because that's our problem, in this country. Not to be overly political, but the problem in this country is we don't value mental health nearly enough.
No, absolutely not.
And if we could value mental health and like get more people into that profession, and then help people mentally with mental help instead of putting them in jail. Like if we could put people through this mental ringer, and then put them through therapy afterwards, that would be so much better than just sitting people in jail for years. Especially for petty things like pot.
I agree. I think the war on drugs is such bullshit. I mean, like people get arrested for pot. Shit. I mean, it's like just stop.
And the war on drugs is making it hard for people who need medicine not to get it. I mean, doctors are reluctant to prescribe.
But let me just flip that on you. It's like, okay, so you are, let's say you're a young man or young woman and you have, a terrible background. Maybe you were abused. Maybe you just had a very violent upbringing or whatever like that. So you're all fucked up in the head, right?
Yeah.
And, you do bad things. What if instead of sending to prison, what if you went through and try to show the best way to live? Instead of, why would you put them in a jail cell for 20 years? Why not have them show them a life of like a wonderful life where you're like, this is what happens when you do good things or when good things happen to you kind of thing. Or I don't know, like maybe show them the error of their ways. Like, this is how you would correctly navigate instead of doing all the stupid bullshit stuff.
Yeah.
So you kind of course correct and be like, oh, I shouldn't scream at this person, or I shouldn't start a fist fight, or I shouldn't bring a gun to a nightclub or something. Just all that bullshit stuff that people do because they think they're overcompensating for all the fears, anger, all the things that's deep within themselves that they haven't worked out. And like you said, we haven't worked out. We haven't try to help people with psychology. We don't like work with that. We just kind of, and then it's like a side thought, like, oh, well, I guess he was all fucked up from childhood. Well, yeah, no doubt. You know,
and that's the thing. I mean, even with real jail sentences, we still don't give these people any kind of mental.
No, they don't get anything.
Any kind of mental help for the real stuff they've gone through.
Right.
I mean, sure. Even if you, I mean, like, I just think mental health needs to be such a bigger part of things.
Well, yeah.
I mean, like, I love guns. I love shooting guns, and I think having mental stability should be part of having a mental test or whatever. Have a psychiatrist check you off.
Have a gun. Yeah.
To have you. I mean, I don't think that's a bad thing because I mean, sure, Second Amendment says we have a right to bear arms. But I mean, like, if you're crazy, I don't think you should have a gun.
No, you definitely shouldn't. And it's the same thing as if let's say you're visually impaired, you shouldn't drive a car. Like, I mean, like, if you're like blind. It's a very bad idea if you're a blind man or blind woman to get behind the wheel of a car.
Sure, I mean there should be checks and balances in everything. I mean, like, I don't think our guns should be taken away because I think that's a constitutional right. But at the same time, we should be, people should be checked out to make sure they're mentally equipped to handle that.
I agree with you. I think I'm a little like on the fence with the guns. I don't think we should not have guns. I just think that we should be I don't think we get this point where like you can't regulate it all. Yes, it needs a little regulation. I'm sorry. It does need, for like mental health people, obviously.
Yeah.
You have a Sandy Hook situation where this young kid kills his mom, breaks into her, gun locker.
But the thing is, I mean, you can't the mom or the dad, whoever owned the gun, you can't blame them.
No, you can't blame her, but it's the fact that, here you have somebody who's completely off his rocker. And yes, unforeseen things are always going to happen. I mean, even the craziest person is going to get their hands on the gun somehow if, the right situations all align.
And the thing is, in countries, I mean, I've heard in some countries that have completely outlawed guns completely. There's mass stabbings,
right?
Places like you can't stop people from being stupid, mentally incapable, and violent. You cannot stop humans from that.
But
without some kind of mental health.
But with that being said, a mass stabbing, maybe you kill 3 people instead of like 15. I'm just saying, I mean, there is a bit of a difference.
You're still putting everyone in the hospital.
No doubt. No doubt. Like, people are being hurt and terrorized. I agree. And there's no easy answer. I don't think there's an easy answer. But that being said, yes, we don't value mental health. And that's the other thing that kind of hit home on this episode was Miles O'Brien. I mean, his commanding officer, Cisco, says, you will report to your counselor. You will, take time off and get your life.
I'm kind of sad we didn't see any of that in this episode.
Well,
I would have liked to see a little bit of it and see kind of how it went.
Tell me about the bathrooms. We shit in the sand.
How many fingers does he have when he stuck it up your?
But it is like a little bit like I felt like that's the one thing. It kind of really struck me really strongly about this episode is that the Federation does not, diminish mental health. It's like, yes, your mental health is extremely important, and you should pay attention to it.
And in Next Gen, like, a counselor is one of the main characters.
And I distinctly remember that when Next Gen was announced, and I think, like, my uncle came to me and was telling me about it, was like saying, like, and there's going to be like a ship counselor, like a psychiatrist. And we were both like, that's weird. Because I had never been to a psychiatrist. I don't know anybody who was at that time going to a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
At least not that I know of. Maybe there were. But it was like, they thought, like, that's important. Like, to have, a good psychiatrist.
And that's one of the cool things about Star Trek Continues. They introduced, Michelle Specht, who we had on the show.
Had on the show, right. Yeah.
And she was fantastic and fun to talk
Super
to.
fun.
And she, she's super proud of her character.
Yeah.
Who she's like the Deanna Troi quote unquote prototype because they introduced a counselor into the TOS crew since they didn't have one in the original series. They added it for Star Trek Continues.
Well, funny enough,
and she's a great character.
Where No Man's Gone before, they did have a counselor on there, but then she gets turned into this godlike being.
Oh yeah. Oh well.
But I'm just saying, it's like we didn't have like a full-time psychiatrist
On the ship,
on the
yeah.
ship. Not to our knowledge, at least.
It was never mentioned before until Star Trek Continues. Until TNG, and then we've got Star Trek Continues that goes back, and she's like the prototype for Deanna Troi, and she's great. I love Michelle.
No, she's wonderful, but it is very striking that like it definitely struck me. I mean, during watching this episode, was like, boy, they really take psychology and the person's psychological state very important. It was very important to them. It's important to Cisco. It's like, and how often do you work with somebody who's completely on the edge, like who is just like they're depressed, they're angry, or they're frustrated with life. I mean, you see it all the time, and you're just like, it's like it's so bizarre. We don't take time.
We don't value mental health at all in this country, and
especially U.S. I mean,
in this country specifically, yes, we do not take this. It's not considered, good. But I mean, we both listened to the last podcast on the left, and like, how many of these people could have like not become serial killers if mental health was taken seriously?
Yeah,
it's still taken seriously now, but just imagine, like back in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s when these serial killers were large. I mean, it was just like we still don't take mental health seriously. And Star Trek has a mental health character on the ship since the 80s.
Yeah. And
we still don't take this seriously now. It's like, come on.
I agree. I think that mental health is a huge thing. If it comes to gun violence, if it comes to just our personal well-being, geez, I've gone see a psychiatrist once or twice, and it's interesting. I don't know if it's like I don't think I ever found the right person for myself.
Yeah.
So I never really continued with it because most people like I kind of want to and not that I'm brilliant, but I want a psychiatrist who's smarter than me.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to like outthink them, and that's the thing is like not that I outthought them, but I kind of. I could see where they're coming from. So it's like it's just.
Yeah, I've been to one too, and I wasn't like super impressed at all.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm overanalyzing it, but I was just like I would go like, all right, so you don't, like if I can.
And the only problem with it nowadays, I mean, in the limited experience I have, is you're mostly talking and you're not getting much back at all from them.
Yeah,
it's basically someone you can vent to. And I think mental health needs to be more than that.
Yeah.
It needs to be more than someone you can vent to. You need stuff coming back from them other than just questions.
Well, maybe some person to guide you through it that's going to tell you like, well, this is why you're feeling this way, and or possibly why you're feeling this way, or what's going on with you at this point.
Yeah, but also a double-edged sword with the problem with mental health is that in America, everything's so politically correct, and everything's like, all these HIPAA violations and all these like, all these things like that. So they can't. I mean, at this, they're trying to give help, but at the same time, they can't really give a whole lot of advice,
right? Because
of all these like rules and regulations. Because our country's so heavily regulated.
That's a good point.
It's so I mean, lots of stuff needs to be revamped with our country, United States. I mean. We need to become less. We say we're the land of the free. We're the land of the highly regulated. Let's be honest. We're far from quote unquote free.
We're regulated on a personal level, but on like some other broad levels, we're not regulated enough on like big corporations and stuff like that who get like free reign of whatever they want. Because they can pay the cash out to say, fuck that.
Yeah,
so.
but I totally agree. But at the same time, we're not. I mean, we're highly regulated as personal people, but not as companies. Even though companies
like we were saying before.
People.
Like people getting arrested for pot. I mean, New York State,
ridiculous.
New York State's not as bad as other states, but definitely pot is like the most BS thing to get arrested for
and put in jail for years. And cocaine, you get put in jail for years.
Let's say you go 2 years for like got caught with some like 2 or 3 years possession. That means that it's harder for you to get hired. Harder for you to make a living when you get out. You're trying to reform yourself.
But the thing is, you can't. Like our jail system basically just makes repeat criminals because our system is in such a way that if you've got something on your record, people won't hire you. And even if you don't have things on your record, people won't hire you.
Well, yeah.
Our system is so messed up right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the other thing is the prison system is so jacked up. But the Grothies system, I think, is messed up too, because so they have this technology. They can, first of all, they can modify you to think that you've been 20 years in prison for espionage, which, did he go for trial for that? I mean, do we know anything?
No, he was, like they said, it was just a matter of minutes. They convicted him. He asked too many questions, so they thought he was an espionager. They took him to this place. I assume they sedated him. That's the only way they can get him to lay on this table where they can, map his brain, figure out what he's about, and figure out the best type of interrogation, type of incarceration for him.
So what a messed up society where not only, will they prosecute you that quickly, but then they put you 20 years. Like I said, why not show them the error of their ways? Like, this is what happens if you did do this. Let's play it all out in your head. Like this, let's show you all the alternate versions of what could happen. I mean, they have the capability. They could show you multiple things that, because of your actions, what would happen to you. Like, why just stick you in a prison because that's easy? I don't know. It's silly to me. So maybe
I totally agree. It's silly and it's cruel. But at the same time, if we had that, instead of putting people in jail for actual years and spending all that money on state correctional facilities, wouldn't it almost kind of be better just to...
I agree it would be more cost effective. I agree with that. But I think that we're still, you're squandering...
It's still cruel.
You're squandering... you're squandering something that you could actually use to be like, hey, we could show them the error of the ways. We could show them, if you, let's say you were... beat up as a kid by your dad or something like that. The
problem with the thing is that you still have free will. You're still making decisions in this thing. Like what you're talking about, they have to be stripped of their
but what if
free will?
But what if you just showed them okay, let's run like a choose your own adventure book. Let's just keep on going through it. Like you do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. And, step A to B to C to D to...
So you're instead of putting them in jail, putting them in Groundhog Day until they figure out the right way of finishing it.
And be like, see, because you're being an asshole, you keep on getting fucked up. And maybe just have a narrator say, look, you're fucking this up because you keep on doing this, and kind of show them... But I don't know. I'm just saying is if you have the technology, why not show them the error of their ways, showing them maybe a more effective way to handle things, and had them deal with it, and maybe even go regress to their past thoughts.
But that's the thing. O'Brien didn't do anything wrong. He was just a nerd.
I know.
I know, but I'm just saying, how are you going to teach someone the error of their way if they're just asking questions and being a tech nerd?
I agree. Obviously, like I said, the Agrothies, for the technology advancement from modifying, your memories, but their judicial system is bullshit.
Yeah.
That you just take an alien who comes to your planet like, hey, what does this button do? Up, your espionage. We're putting you in for 20 years.
But at least they don't put you in trial where the verdict is death before you even start the trial.
Like the Cardassians.
Yeah, exactly. So,
So they're a step above.
At least they're a step above the Cardassians where, you're going to go on trial. Your verdict has already been announced. You're going to die,
they're
but,
better. Yeah, it's better than that. Yeah, I agree. But, anyways, it's just one of those things that I just I thought to myself, there's so many different routes that you could go with this that would be more, I don't know, I think you would just help the criminal or the convict better, So
yeah,
whatever.
Even in our system, there's definitely ways you can
Oh, our system! Don't even get me started. We could go on forever for our judicial system needs revamping.
Just listen to Serial, the first season of Serial with that non-Syed, if you want to see how messed up our judicial system is. He was sort of the most recent person, and he's brown, so we're just going to put him in jail for funsies.
Yeah, because it fits our idea of who probably did it.
Yeah, it's so sad that you think our justice system is about justice. Our justice system is about who's the easiest mark.
Oh, absolutely.
Instead of who really did it. It's so sad that's the way it is.
It's terrible. It's terrible. Yeah, absolutely. But
and then so sort of like O'Brien, it's like, oh, he wasn't really doing espionage. He was just asking. It's the same thing.
I know.
Where it's like, just wrong place, wrong time. Too inquisitive.
isn't that all crimes?
Yeah.
Wrong place, wrong time.
I mean, sometimes.
Unless you're doing something egregiously wrong.
like killing people.
Killing people, robbing people. I mean, those are obviously bad things. Sexual assault, all those things. That's all bad. So, but we're talking
selling drugs, looking at things too closely. I mean, I don't know if that's
I don't know.
Prison worthy for 20 years.
20
oh my
years
gosh.
is a long time. Could have gotten 15, but they just left them in for
Oh yeah,
5.
yeah. It could. The minimum is 15, but it's like because you're an alien, we're going to be racist and give you an extra 5 just for funsies.
What the fuck? Right.
I don't know. It's just I don't know. It's such a good episode. Our Brian episodes are so good. They give you so much to think about. I mean, like we got to talk about the court systems a lot with the Cardassian one, and this one we talk about the prison system and how that works and mental health. I just love. This is one thing great about Star Trek and great about Deep Space Nine and great about the O'Brien must suffer episodes. It's just that there's so much to unbox, think about.
There's a lot there, and that's what great when Star Trek really hits hard is that there's a lot loaded into that episode, more than you'd even if you really sit down and think about it. I'm sitting there watching it and I'm thinking about what we're going to talk about. I'm like, man, I mean, I could talk about prisoner post traumatic stress system. I could talk about soldiers. I could talk about I mean, there's so much to talk about. Just our justice system, which is messed up.
Which we have been talking about. I hope it hasn't bummed you out since we got enough Star Trek. But I mean, it's pertinent to this episode.
If we talk about this stuff, we need to talk about it. I mean, it's part of this episode, and you need to I don't know how you get around it.
Yeah.
And yes, bad people should go to jail. But,
good people go to jail too.
But we should keep the good people, or we should find ways to help people who are maybe not on the straight and narrow, but try to find ways to guide them back instead of just throwing them into a
cage where they get worse.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I mean, this episode shows so vividly the best of people can become the worst of people.
Well, you become
just by being in that environment.
Right. You become institutionalized, and then you don't think outside the box anymore. You don't think there could be a better way. Like when he says, leave, where am I going to go?
I mean, jail and that severe of jail, like the one in this episode, turns you into an animal.
I agree. And I do think the jail system is probably, besides maybe the worst of worst, that you need to keep away from the general society, is the dumbest thing you could possibly do. I really believe that. And unless we're talking about murderers, rapists, those kind of people who definitely need to be...
They need to be segregated from
general population.
But petty theft, Grand Theft Auto...
I mean, we're talking about people who are basically leveraged against our economic system, and they don't have the tools or the mentality or the psychology to get through it.
And the thing is, a lot of petty theft, petty crime, where people are in jail, is because people are poor.
Yes, absolutely.
And our the 1% takes all the money. Like these CEOs make 1,000% more than what your regular things are. Right. I'm like, that doesn't need to be.
Yeah.
What are they going to do with all that money? Why can't regular employees make enough money to live on? Why can't a man support his wife or support his girlfriend? Why can't that be? Why do they both have to work and bust their asses all the time?
Why do some people have to work 2 jobs, 3 jobs?
2 or 3. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Why can't one person just support another person?
Yeah.
Or, one person support a family. Nowadays, either one person's got to work multiple jobs, or both people in the relationship have to work 1 or 2 jobs.
I agree. I mean, there's a lot there, and obviously, there's in-depth reasons for all that stuff. But that's the reason people are. That's half the reason people are in jail.
I mean, people aren't making money and people are stressed, and they have to find a way to make things work.
And a lot of people obviously self-medicate themselves by either doing some kind of drug, and it's usually not marijuana per se. It's usually something else like cocaine, heroin or pain medication, all that kind of stuff.
Just to get by, because everything is so shitty.
Yeah, because they've become dependent on it because they don't know how to deal with their emotions. They don't know how to deal with their life. And then they go, because they don't have any money, because they need to support their habits, they have to go and they hold up, gas station.
Convenience store, or try to steal a car, or steal a stereo, or whatever.
Yeah. And like, again, we're not talking about rapists. We're not talking about murderers. I mean, yes, that might
those people are in jail, but those are like 1 or 2% of all people in jail?
Very
like
small
a tiny percent of who's in jail.
Yeah.
It's sickening. And I think the greatest percentage of people in jail are people for drugs, like pot possession or heroin possession. They're just like, come on.
I know. I hope
there's got to be a better way.
Two things I hope in the next 10 years. I hope we see, and I'm not necessarily, I'm not an advocate for marijuana, but I think marijuana is the dumbest dumbest drug to outlaw.
From what I understand, it's the cotton companies were scared of hemp.
Yeah, basically, because they wanted to make paper, and they knew that the Hearst company was, big on making paper, and hemp was
clothing, and it's just that's why it's illegal. It's not because it's dangerous.
And we're going back to the 1910s, 1920s.
It's because of the cotton companies being scared, so they lobbied against.
I sincerely believe that by the end of my life that marijuana will be completely legalized in America.
I hope so.
It just seems silly that it's not.
So many people are in jail because of it, and everyone is in jail because of marijuana and needs to be released.
Yeah, that's dumb. Just dumb. I mean, unless you have a violent, something violent attached to you, then there's other reasons why you're
sure. Yeah, if you've done something violent,
but if you're
only there because of possession or selling of marijuana, that is ridiculous.
That is, yeah, absolutely.
Especially since 3 or 4 states are, have already set up. You can even use it recreationally without a problem.
Yeah, I agree. It's dumb. It's a dumb law, and it needs to go away. And hopefully.
Alcohol is more dangerous, and we imbibe that every week on Synthaholics.
Absolutely. No, alcohol, you can get extremely violent. You can get, there's lots of things that could happen with alcohol.
We're happy drunks on Synthaholics.
We are happy drunks, but, some people aren't, so.
That's unfortunate.
It's very unfortunate. But, yeah, we're not going to solve the world's problems tonight.
No, we're not. But it's a great episode. It's a great Star Trek. White Christmas, Black Mirror. Go watch it if you like this episode of Star Trek. And if you check the episode,
Outer Limits, the sentence. I don't know where you picked that up because it's a 1996 episode. It's not an older episode. I don't think it's on Netflix, but I don't know
what
the similar.
No, but White Christmas.
Yeah. I'm talking about the Outer Limits episode. The sentence.
I don't know if they can. I don't think Outer Limits is on Netflix.
I don't know if it is either.
But I do hope they reboot Outer Limits because Outer Limits is so good. And I love Black Mirror, but Black Mirror is mostly focused on social media and in modern technology gone wrong. Mm-hmm. But I like how Outer Limits is it could be anything.
Yeah. Absolutely.
This is one episode of the 90s, Outer Limits, or it's a science fiction episode. They're on the spaceship and they're trying to bomb this alien civilization. Mm-hmm. And then they all get knocked out, and then they figure out there's an alien on the ship, and who's been trying to sabotage them the whole time. And they're trying to get the alien, and they think they're going to try to sabotage them from dropping the bomb on the alien planet. And then they kill the alien, and they drop the bomb, and then they realize the very last second that they've been turned around, and they drop the bomb on Earth.
Oh,
and it's just there's so many kick in the balls episodes.
You dropped the bomb on me.
It's just like they just eradicated their own race because they thought they were going to eradicate the other race. Outer Limits is so good. There's so much food for thought.
And the 60s was pretty groundbreaking.
The 60s were great. I won't diminish those, but this is just an episode I think of.
No, I understand.
That I can remember off the top of my head. And it stuck with me because it's science fiction. There's space and a spaceship, so that's why it stuck with me.
Right,
because it's in that genre that I like, the Star Trek, Star Wars.
No, absolutely.
Type thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it.
Anything else about Hard Time?
Hard Time. No, I think
we could go on for hours, but we
won't. No, I'm good.
All right. Well, thank you all for listening. All our music is provided by Warp 11. You can find them at warp11.com or Warp 11 on Twitter. You can find the show at Synthaholic Duo on Twitter. Mine, personally, you can follow me on Twitter at David_J_Duncan.
You can find me at Blackbird2004.
You can find Guy at GS Davis Art. You can find him at USS Tamerlan. And you can check out our Patreon if you want to support the show. It's patreon.com/Synthaholics. We've got a couple different tiers, a couple different things. So you can sign up for that if you want to help support the show, keep us running, because the podcast is free to you guys, and we want to keep it that way. But at the same time, the podcast does
cost money.
Does cost money. I've got to pay for the website hosting, the domain, and then keeping up with keeping the files online so you guys can download them whenever you feel like.
Absolutely. So definitely throw us $1 or so if you can. It would be appreciated. If you can, also go to, if you don't have the extra $1 to throw at us a month, maybe go to iTunes, give us a rating review. Give us go onto the iTunes site. Do a search for Synthaholics, and then just give us 5 stars.
Even
give us a rating.
If you don't have iTunes, and if you don't have an iPhone, go on iTunes, because I mean, you could do it any platform you choose, but iTunes is one of the bigger ones.
Yeah,
and without your support there, without your reviews and ratings, we're going to be doomed to obscurity, and we don't want to be obscure. We want people to find us and be able to check us out. And
we know you enjoy the episode. I mean, you're listening to it, you're having fun with us. But just remember, if the more people that hear us, the better things will get for us. That we can keep on doing more for shows,
and hopefully be able to get out to more conventions. Because right now we're relegated to just conventions near us,
local area. So and secondly, obviously, just tell us friends. Anybody who might be interested in Star Trek, sci-fi. Might like offbeat humor, definitely let them know, hey, Synthaholics, give them a try. I'm always looking for recommendations for podcasts. That was always awesome if you can give a shout out to us.
And even if they don't like Star Trek, tell your family, your friends, your significant other, your cousins, or whoever about podcasts if they don't already know. Because as big as podcasts are, it's still relatively niche.
Yeah, not a lot of people know about podcasts.
And almost everyone nowadays has a smartphone. Even like your grandma's. My grandma's got a smartphone, and she doesn't even know really how to use it. But I mean, like she could. Your grandma or your grandpa could listen to anything they want. If they're into into history, hardcore history. If they like. Weird stuff. Last podcast in the lot. Like anything.
I don't think grandma's like that, but
grandmas just get wet.
I wonder if there's a grandma podcast.
I'm sure there probably is a grandma's knitting podcast. I'm sure there's something.
Well,
like
I'm
that.
sure there's a knitting podcast. Yeah. I don't know if there's a grandma's podcast.
I'm sure grandmas would love a knitting podcast.
No, I wonder if there's a grandma podcast. I'm going to look that up when I get home later on. But so let people know about us. Let people hear that if you like this show, just pass it on to like a friend, or tweet about us, or put share our link on Facebook. That'd be wonderful. So that'd be just to get the word out there about our show and about what we're doing.
So on my phone, I looked up grandma for your grandma podcast. There's the Grandma's Virginity podcast.
I don't know what I feel about that.
There's the Grandma's Coupons.
Coupons?
Coupons. Oh yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah, guy from one of the Blue Comedy Tour guys says coupons. Grandma's Book Club. Call your grandma. Unfiltered. Don't say that around grandma. Gabbing with grandma. Good morning, grandmas. There is grandmother content out there.
For grandma.
I just read like 6 of them or more online. There is grandma content out there. So if your grandma doesn't listen to the podcast,
she should.
There is grandma content out there for you.
Clipping coupons with grandma.
So I mean, there's stuff for everyone with every single out there.
But definitely let them know about Synthaholics.
Especially let them know about Synthaholics. But there's other stuff for them out there if Star Trek isn't their thing.
And also on top of all this, if you heard what we said, something that you wanted to chime in about, that you thought about, that what we said, you wanted to say something more.
Yeah, if you have got insight on mental health that we don't have.
Or justice system, or the war on drugs, or
Star Trek,
or Star Trek, or a suggestion for an episode, just email us at synthaholics@yahoo.com. We'd be happy to hear it, and we'll read if you give us permission, we'll read your email on the episode. We've done it before.
Love getting emails.
Let us know what you think, and then we'll talk about it.
Actually, I have one for my brother. I should read that next time.
Okay. Absolutely. Yeah. But
I've been meaning to read it. Sorry, Josh. We'll read it next time. We'll try to remember to read it next time.
But so we'll definitely have to. We'll read it on the episode. We'll talk about it. We'll discuss
I've been
it.
drinking a lot.
He has been drinking a lot.
Went to a party before I had the podcast.
Yeah. You went to Holly Michelle from Artful Gremlins.
I made a bunch of Warp Core Breach.
Who's been on the episodes before, and also we've done Nerds of the Round Table with her. And
I went over to her house for her.
I was going to go, but I've been very busy, so I haven't had a chance to. So
thank you for the invite, Holly.
Yes, thank you. We had fun. But anyways, so definitely let people know.
All right, well, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being with us. We love you here. Always send your suggestions. Always send whatever you want. And, you can even send us audio clips. Remember our 100th episode, we play people's audio clips. If you want to be heard on the show,
just sing a song to us.
Yeah, if you want to sing us happy birthday or,
I don't know why you sing happy birthday, but go ahead, do it.
Hit me baby one more time. I don't know, whatever you want. One more time.
Yeah.
If you want to sing us a song, we'll play it on the air and we'll let everyone hear how talented and amazing you are. So, or if you just want to send us some of your thoughts in email or via chat, Synthaholics@yahoo.com. We're always happy to hear from you guys.
Absolutely.
Thank you all so much for listening. Live long and prosper, one and all.
Till we laugh and we'll both shit our pants. You're the best drinking friend I ever had.
Oh, jeez. All day long.
All day, Sunday, Saturday, Friday.
Oh my God, so much. Like adulthood has rolled into my life and just crushing me.
Adulthood sucks. I adulted.
I have been an adult for a long time, but it just seems like...
Seems like it's getting more adulty, huh?
Yeah. Pretty intense. That's okay. It's fine. It's just there's a lot going on.
Yeah. All right, you ready?
Yeah.